going to go over a little bit. I know you've been here before. Has anybody else been here before? Okay, the house was built, thank you, hon, in 1853, and the legend is that two brothers owned it, and they it was like a stopover for a stagecoach, and they would welcome people in, feed them, just send the horses to the barn. The barn used to sit where the pond is now, and then murder them and bury the bodies under the barn.
And then
That's
they kept them in
legend.
the basement.
Or in the
In
basement.
the wintertime.
Another rumor is the crawl space over the steps. Did anybody go upstairs yet?
Yeah.
Coming down, did you see the crawl space? It's got the plexiglass
Jump
over it.
overhead.
Now, for the longest time, we were like, well, that doesn't make a lot of sense because how would they get a dead body up there and across the steps? However, they found like lips where you maybe could put a plank. So, you know, legends are out there for a reason. Another legend that is going around is that the hanging tree. The story goes that a young couple was married, they were going to have a baby. He went off to war, and because they couldn't afford wedding bands, they thought she was an unwed mother and hung her. Well, I'm a psychic medium, and I was down at the pond one day, and this very thick accented female voice says, they have it all wrong. And I said, okay, who has what wrong? And she said, the hanging. And I said, okay, who is this? And she said, they call me Pearl. I said, okay, Pearl, tell me the story. Well, what I could get from her was there was a master of the house, and she was basically his concubine, and she said her verbiage was, he put a baby in me, and she was housed in the barn. So like when he would go have sex with her, she'd have to come in, do all the chores around the house, blah blah blah. And then when she started to show, the family, the wife and whatnot got aware of it and started talking, and before you knew it, the townspeople had hung her. Which I got to thinking a lot about that, and it's like, you know, I don't want to tell people this story when I don't really have any proof. Well, I don't have any proof at all. But I got to thinking about it, and my grandparents were married in 1909. In 1959, they had their 50th anniversary, because I'm really good at math, and my two things I remember, I was just a little kid, but two things I remember is all the siblings got together and made them a money tree, and my grandfather got her first wedding band after 50 years of marriage. And then I got to thinking, you know what, my parents were married in 1950, and my mom didn't get a wedding band until 1955. So a lot of people back then couldn't afford wedding bands. They needed the metal for like uniform buttons, bayonets, and all different kinds of things. So if they hung everybody that couldn't afford a wedding band, they'd be hanging a lot of people, not just this one poor little innocent female. So, you know, I thought, well, I'm going to tell the story, let people have food for thought. You know, I have every right to tell the story that I got. And don't you know, the name Pearl has come up on spirit boxes and geo boxes like crazy. So I was telling this story, I think it was back in February, and all of a sudden I had this flash of her in this old wooden ship, and she was like real sickly, and she had this really long black braid. Oh, and she said that she was Indian. And I thought, well, you know, there's so many tribes around here, that makes sense too. And then the ship happened, And I was like, oh my God, she's not native. She's Indian, which would explain this really, really long trip. It would explain the dark skin. It would explain the unidentified accent and why she didn't say my name is Pearl. She said they call me Pearl. So they probably just Americanized a name for her. So,
Indian slave.
again, no proof. Yeah, exactly. But food
More
for thought.
accepted slave, at least.
However, one thing I can almost prove is, are you familiar with the Demon Files? Okay, it was probably one of the most real shows on TV, and they got taken off because they refused to phony the evidence and do
Hollywood.
stuff for ratings. Exactly. So it is in reruns every now and then. Excuse me. It's either on Travel Channel, Destination America, or A&E. But it's one of the best shows. I'm scared to death of Ralph Sarchie because he only likes Catholics, but the other guys are amazing. They've all been here. And I was investigating with Sean Austin one night, and he was on the show as well. And I was talking to a spirit who again had a very thick accent, but his was very clearly German. And he said that his name was Friedrich. And I said, so what's your purpose here? Why are you contacting me? He said, because I fucking hate women. And I said, oh, well, that's interesting. And he said that he used to beat his wife, Sarah, on a regular basis because she deserved it. And so he was just so full of himself and whatnot. Bear with me here. I have 8 billion pictures.
This one right here was.
Yeah.
Dale showed us.
Dale showed you what?
He got cut upstairs.
He did?
A while ago. Yeah, last year, I think he said.
I didn't even know he was here last year.
He was working, or he said 6 months ago.
Hmm.
A single claw up on Mary's room. He got kind of pushed out of it, almost down the stairs.
I never heard that story.
Yeah, it drew blood.
Oh, come on, Bill. Okay. So, I'm talking to Friedrich, and I said, so what's your purpose here tonight? And he said that he was going to attack a woman. So, again, I mean, Sean had never met me before. He didn't know if I was full of shit or legit or whatever. So I was a little afraid. You know, he's a celebrity, and I was a little intimidated. But finally I said, okay, Sean, got to interrupt you and tell you about this spirit that's talking to me. And I told him, and he said that, you know, I told him he wanted to attack a woman. So he starts provoking him. And he was like, oh, so you're a big guy. Yeah, I don't ever provoke. And he said, so who are you going to attack? How are you going to attack me? Nothing happens. So he starts calling him a coward and really upping the provocation. Nothing happened. So he goes, well, how about this? And he starts reciting the Lord's Prayer. This blood-curdling scream comes out of Mary's room, and the girl comes out looking like this. So my first thing
I've
is...
seen it before.
Can you show it up here real close?
Sure.
Did you get it?
It's fine, as long as we get it on one,
Okay.
I can splice together.
And of course, my first thing is to debunk. And, you know, people do this stuff for attention, I'm sorry to say. And so I looked at the necklace, and it turns out that you stretch it out, you put it over your head, and it collapses
Yeah, it's
into
like
a
this
choker.
one.
They're real
Yeah.
popular.
Glass, I mean, yeah.
Exactly.
And then I said, wow, okay, there's
That
no
wasn't
metal
done.
on that, so it wasn't something she could have done easily. Plus, there's 3 scratches down her neck and choke marks under the necklace. So it was like she couldn't have done that in a split second. And she was trembling, and I mean trembling. So it was like I knew she was legit. So the rest of the night was absolutely crazy. Here's a really cool picture. Look at the steps.
You didn't show me that one.
I didn't?
I don't think it's.
Oh, I think because I couldn't get it to come up.
So
or
are they
something.
trying to say this Frederick lived here?
I
Because
don't-
I got that he was a traveler, he wasn't married. He hung around his sister, but he did hate women.
Well, somebody a couple weeks ago called him Freddie
I wrote it down.
Is he?
or something sarcastic like that, and he said it's Friedrich. Very clear.
But I mean,
Very
did he,
clear.
are they saying he lived here? Because I didn't get
That I
that.
don't know. Honestly,
Yeah, I
he
got
just-
that he was a traveler.
he could have been a traveler. Absolutely.
What am I looking for?
Me and Jeff.
Look at the stairs.
So as soon as we pulled in here, I got Flo.
So, if you look at one of the
Flo was
pictures,
the
you will
last one
see
to
That's
live
a
what I
leg
said.
on one
I
of the
was last
pictures.
one.
Yeah.
I was the last one.
In fact, I'll show you another picture.
She's an older woman.
Yeah, Flo and Joe.
They were the last two
hmm
older that.
And they
were
lived here for 20 years.
They made a deal with them.
A disembodied leg, yeah.
Basically, they made a deal with
Leave me
them.
alone, I'll leave you alone type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
don't mess with
But
us.
then,
we don't mess with you.
Later in life, when her granddaughter could understand things, her granddaughter comes out here a lot. She confessed that there was a lot of stuff going on that she just never.
Oh, that's cool.
Isn't that cool?
That's real cool.
And you consider only a second apart.
Yeah. That's real
It's
cool.
like my picture in Wisconsin.
That's real cool.
That was awesome.
That's good evidence. That stairway's pretty active.
And this one's really cool. We were outside, beautiful, warm summer night, and people were just randomly. Well, let me tell you a story, and then I'll pass it, okay? Just randomly shooting pictures, and somebody was like, "That's a weird light anomaly," and I'm thinking, no, because there's so many lightning bugs out tonight that I think probably a bug went by. But the granddaughter, Flo and Joe, bless you, were here, and she's like, "Oh my God, that's my grandparents' dog. Look in the doorway."
Cool. It looks like, almost like, I don't know, I don't want to say those schnauzers.
It puts me in mind of like a labradoodle.
Yes, yeah, like the curly hair
I
ones.
must have not seen a cat. I see
There's a
cat
lot
like-
of cat
I see a
spirits
cat
here.
like every
Yes.
picture. I can't. I don't trust my eyes, so I always see a cat.
Uh-huh.
Show it to me.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that so neat?
That's real neat.
Like she just, like everybody's focused on the light thing.
Yeah, I didn't even look at that when you
Yeah.
were talking about a dog.
That's pretty color and all. Almost.
Yeah, you can see his collar.
It's pretty weird. I've seen the.
But that I'm pretty sure is a bug.
Yeah, thanks.
I hate it when people just like jump on the whole orb train.
Yeah.
It's like, no. And I'm sure you guys have all seen
Sorry.
him. You guys
Shadow
have seen
one in
him?
the front.
You didn't?
I know nothing.
I mean,
I
you
made
were-
sure I didn't
Okay,
touch anything.
this is taken
Awesome.
through rain, but he shows up a lot.
Unless that thing manifests into something right before my eyes, or you know,
Or like
something.
goes from the floor through a person or something.
Yeah.
It just really is hard
hovering
to.
around like weird.
Yeah.
The video on it is supposed to for Wisconsin.
Did you see that one?
Oh, I didn't see it, Ryan. No, I
You
didn't
got
see
tons
it.
of orbs where like it
On
literally
the
looked like
chair?
it was coming forward and then went
It-
back.
I didn't see it.
The orb that I caught in Wisconsin manifested in the middle of a chair, and then it looked like it got up and walked away.
Now that's an orb.
Yes,
Absolutely.
exactly. When it,
Yeah, there's so much
when
more
it
detail
manifests,
to
yes,
them than.
into something that you just can tell. Yeah, you
I
know,
was doing
Yeah, this guy is.
an investigation out City Line. The place is closed down now, but the Pig Radio, which is the local radio station for country music here, the guy wanted to do an investigation with me, so I was like, okay. And there was so much activity, but we were in complete darkness, and I said, "Red, something just went right through you." And he's like, well, I didn't feel anything. And I said, I'm telling you, something just went through you. So Jesse Garin was the name of the guy, and he plays back the video or right straight through his heart. Yeah, so you never know.
Yeah. Yeah, you can pretty debunk that not being a bug or a dust particle.
Yeah, it's like sometimes you just gotta say.
And there's no doubt. It's just enjoy.
And you know, you in
again, once it's like something like that, it's different.
But some people just like, oh my God,
And
look at all
the
those
thing
orbs.
of it was where I got my orb was in the room right below where she got her picture of the face
Three
in the
different
window.
spirits.
Huh.
Oh wow.
The first one was ever.
So, guy came here a couple weeks ago from Ohio.
We'll forgive.
I know, God love him. And he was, what the hell was his name? Frank Del Bracco. Does anybody know Frank? Frank from Ohio, anyone?
No.
He's completely dependent on sign language and lip reading. So he was outside with me. I was starting their fire, and he went just a few steps up the hill. And like, I'm not very good at measurements, but maybe 10 feet away from the fire pit. And he set his phone down and he started recording, and he came and he wanted me to listen to it. So I listened, and it sounded like footsteps were running down the path or up the path. And so I told him, you know, you could hear footsteps. So he put it on again, and he went just maybe another foot, because I didn't want him to go into the woods alone, being hearing impaired, because you don't know what's up there. And this time you could, at first I thought it was his heartbeat, but he was standing like away from it. It couldn't have recorded that loud. Yeah. And we discovered it was drums, really clear. Then back in May, a guy went up. He was very drawn. He was here first from Syracuse. So he went up in the woods. He's like, oh, I'm just going to go look around for a few minutes. He said, I'm so drawn to the woods up there. I said, okay, I'm going to do some stuff around the house. And Dale was still working, so I was talking to him. And he comes down and he's just shaking. He's like, Bill, you got to listen to this. He said, I went up there and I was so drawn up there. And all of a sudden, I couldn't move. I felt like I was in quicksand. And I heard a growl in my ear. Then I could move, and I got out my recorder and I just started recording. He goes, listen to this. And I listened. It's so, like, Class A EVP said, go inside. It was really crazy. They had a amazing night that night. That same night, they had left their GoPro out in the SUV. They were charging it, and they all just, like, you know, went brain dead and forgot to bring it in. So the next morning they got up, and this guy's like, oh my God, totally forgot about the GoPro. So he's like, I'm just gonna sit and look through the footage and see if we caught anything. Well, you could hear this very distinct noise, and he's like, okay, people, he was recording himself going through the GoPro. He goes, I don't know what that noise was, but I'm gonna try to figure it out. So he takes a water bottle, it's kind of a cheaper one, and he crackles it. You know how the real thin ones just crackle like 89 decibels. And he's like, that's not it. And he's like turning on the turn signal and whatnot. And so finally he shut the door and opened it, and that wasn't it. He couldn't figure it out. So he's like, all right, guys, give me a second, and I'll go through some more footage. He goes to open his console, puts something in there and shuts it. Bam, that was it. Something sat in his car in the pitch black, opening and closing that console. So a few minutes after that, the motion light comes on. Pitch black. There is like nothing out here to light up the sky unless there's a full moon. but the motion light comes on, and you can see the shadow man go back by the tire swing out there. Did you see that? And then you see this little creature, and it's like, oh my God, you caught the freaking puckwudgie. Is anybody familiar with puckwudgie other than you?
Today. He told me about
okay.
it a few weeks ago.
I think I recorded one when me and Jeff were there.
You said that.
I was filming the offering tree.
Okay.
And with my digital camera, just motion or filming, taking stills, taking stills. You know, of course you're always being watched and everything. When I did leave that time, I was just coming down the path. House was in the picture, and I had something rush me from behind. I mean, you can pick up the footstep or the noise of the footsteps on the video. I mean, you can hear
wow.
toot, and they come up behind you, and of course, nothing was there. Well, days later, I'm going over all the pictures and the evidence and da-da-da-da. I'm filming around the tree, and out of nowhere, I almost fell out of the chair. It was so loud. It's like a growl, a bark. I mean, it's just from total, like, going, man, this tree's crazy. It's like, look at how some, you know,
It's so cool,
and
though.
everything, and how some would just go be gyrating, and all the ones around it still. But out of nowhere, this noise, which I've been hunting in wood, well, it's nothing I've ever remotely heard. It's so loud, it sounds like it was on my shoulder. I mean,
Wow.
not to sound, but I mean, it was like, that loud on the video. But it wasn't no human, no animal that I've ever known right on the film. As soon as I just, you know.
This thing has the most distinct growl. Puckwudgie, the exact interpretation is little creature that shoots poison arrows. And ever since they've been remodeling the house and the basement, he has just, at least one has been rearing his head. If you offer tobacco, if any of you smoke, offer tobacco. There is some cigarettes on the windowsill if you want to do an offering up by the tree.
He smokes so.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, and it was right there, and then of course Jeff's photograph.
Well,
That's
yes.
crazy.
That is
I mean,
crazy.
It's almost like
It's ridiculous
yeah,
here.
it's just not.
Back again in February, a group came in. It was actually the group that guy was from. They were here. They came back in May. So in February, we got a foot of snow. It was so pristine. It was so beautiful out here. The driveway hadn't been done yet. We just did that for Brian last weekend. And it was all mud there, but the yard was absolutely pristine. So the next day, after I tell my story and show the pictures and stuff, I go home. You guys are on your own. So I left them, and the next day he messages me on Facebook, and he's like, look at these footprints. So he put it up on Facebook and said, does anybody know what these footprints are? And of course, everybody and their brother had an idea of what they were. They kind of looked like this. 3 whatevers,
Goofies.
and then something else. I mean, that's so descriptive.
Kind of like that barking noise.
You know?
I mean, it's
Yeah.
not nothing you
And so everybody's given an idea of what they think it is. So this one kind of meanie head comes on, and he goes, I know exactly what that is. That's a skunk. You guys are idiots. And I'm like, okay, well, first of all, it's not nice to call people idiots, so I'm going to call you out big time. I said, you know, we have a lot of skunks in PA, and all the ones I know have 4 legs. Not only that, that was a foot of powder snow, like the quintessential ski snow. Where's his belly drag? Did you ever watch a skunk? They do that little butt wiggle. That was not a skunk.
Generally, you don't see too many skunks in the mountains.
Well, not in the winter exactly, but if you know, then there's the occasional stray. But
yeah, I mean, it can happen.
yeah, they can wake up and be hungry, but they have a definite pattern to their walk.
There's no way.
Not
it's
only
walking
that,
without dragging.
what I got
4
to
legs.
thinking about is it's like, wait a minute, There are literally 2 prints in this snow. Where did they come from and where did they go to? It was almost like something jumped off the roof and went back up.
And that would be,
And all we could think of was the
that
puckwudgie.
would be something like that. But
Well, 2 weeks ago, my nephew down in Lower Borough, PA, he is a gunman, he's a hunter, he's ex-military, he's everything. So he knows tracks. He gets on Facebook and he's like, does anybody know what these tracks are? And I'm looking at them and I almost shit pickles because it's the I'm
Very
sorry.
similar.
I'm so sorry. Yes, it's exactly the same thing.
dill it.
Right? I'm so
Cucumber,
embarrassed. I
no.
embarrassed myself.
No.
And they were the exact same thing. The two footprints side by each, and 3 little clawish type things. And I said, "Oh my God, Jason, you're not going to believe this, but I think that's a puckwudgie." Well, he's into paranormal too, and he's like, "Wow, I haven't heard that cryptozoology term in forever." He said, "You might be right." But, he's in Lower PA, and they're just, like, it's almost like all
There's
of
a lot
a
of-
sudden they're everywhere.
Yeah, there's a lot of rural.
I don't even know if they're indigenous to any particular area. What my knowledge of puckwudgies is like that big. But I'm learning.
Anybody, I mean, for the most
Yeah,
part.
it's
I
like,
mean, it's like
didn't
it's a
study them in
mythical
school.
thing, anyways. But there's just too much.
Or is it?
I tell you, nobody's heard this video yet. Wait till I gotta somehow maybe
The
get this
growls.
again. It
Oh my
wasn't-
God.
It wasn't a bark. It wasn't a growl. It wasn't. But it's enough that it almost had me fall off the chair just
Do you
out of
have your
nowhere.
computer?
Pardon me?
Do you have your
Mine.
computer?
It's on my computer.
Do you have it?
With me?
Yes.
No. It's on my
No,
laptop.
do you have it at home, Ace?
I do, absolutely. Yeah.
Because she would wonder that.
It's my laptop.
I know, I'm
And
picking on you.
So-
sometimes carry it.
You said the barn was near the pond.
Yes, the ponds are man-made, but Dan's bringing in divers this summer to see what is exactly in that water because
How
there's
long ago was the
some, probably the 1960s, I
is
think
what
it
I
was.
think.
Because a guy came here one day when Dan was here.
There's a few like around too that built. Like
Yeah,
that.
there's
A
10.
lot of springs.
Yeah.
10 of them.
And he used to live here before the Dandies even lived here. And he went to that area and he's like, wow, what happened to the rest of the road? Dan's like, what are you talking about? He said, there was a whole road that went all the way down there. Well, sure enough, they found a way station in the woods.